Welcome back. This is episode 21 of the Pride Podcast. I want to start by saying, first and foremost, Ramadan Kareem to all those who celebrate.
Ooh.
We are three proud Muslim brothers here, and we're all fasting today. So, any bad takes, any long pauses, any filler words you hear, you know what to attribute it to. But we don't use that as an excuse, we use it as strength. So, we will continue on. I mean, I say this every week, but what a game week in the Barclays Premier League this past weekend. Listen, I know it could seem like I'm saying that just to gas this up, but this has been a generational season in the Barclays. Honestly, I've been following for a really, really long time. It has been no joke, a decade since I've seen something this exciting. Um, I'm joined here today with Rayyan Khan, a Liverpool fan, and I'm sure all of you know why we've brought a Liverpool fan on here today. And I'm also joined by our regular Nibir, who will be providing, his great analysis as always. And it's your host with the most uh, amazing takes in the world, Ifti. As always, look, there's three big fixtures here. We're not going to talk any fluff this week. We're going to talk about the game, maybe of the season, Liverpool versus
Mm.
Man City. We're going to talk about a fixture, maybe not as glamorous, but with really, really big implications as it comes to the title picture, Arsenal versus Brentford, and probably the biggest game as it comes to the top four picture, Spurs versus Villa. Listen, whenever I have a nice meal in front of me, you know how there's the types of people that'll save the best for last. I'm
Yeah.
not one of those people. Give me the
Oh
good stuff
man.
while it's hot. So we're gonna open with Liverpool versus Manchester City. Rayon, I'm passing the ball to you. Give me your
I'm here.
thoughts.
All right. So we'll talk about, some flops later. Everybody wants to talk about Luis Diaz. I got another player we'll talk about who I was really disappointed in. I've kind of been disappointed in all
Mhm.
season, really.
Mm.
But I'm gonna start with some shouts. Connor Bradley, I think amazing. First half especially. A little bit, still has to work on that confidence. There was like one or two shots where if he had just, taken that first touch to goal, it could have been like a screen. It would have been crazy. But I'm really excited for him, as the future. I thought he played marvelous, no nerves against Man City and arguably like the most nerve-wracking game just for me. I was sitting there like it was
Mhm.
my Super
Mhm.
Bowl. It was just crazy. But cool nerves. He played really well. Huge shout to a
Mm.
Mr. Wataru Endo, who the
Mm.
world as witness outplayed a KDB, Bernardo Silva, a Caicedo, right? And we talk about Rodri's, what is it, like 61 game unbeaten streak as a starter. Let's talk about Mr. Wataru Endo, 8 and
Wow.
0 as a starter.
Whoa.
Just
is that a real
sorry,
stat?
eight or
That's a
nine
real stat.
games, not
Nine.
not
Wow.
I
8
think
and
it's
0, but
nine.
undefeated, invincible
Yeah.
as a starter, which is, and this is where I really want to give credit to Klopp. People are saying, is it the team? Did he build the standards? Whatever it is. This guy, Endo, was a 30-year-old playing in a relegation side in the Bundesliga Farmers League less than a year ago. And now he just stepped up against supposedly the best player in the world, the best midfielder in the world, and locked them down for 90 minutes in the biggest game of probably his career so far.
Yo,
Huge
they're
shout to him.
saying they're saying he made Rodri untuck his shirt. Like
100%. Yeah.
he had that boy stressed, man, out of character.
100%. I
Listen,
mean, just
on the
other
Endo
players that
thing,
were yeah, Endo.
let's stay on Endo for a quick second. I want to give him flowers as well. And look, I'll put my hands up and say I don't watch Bundesliga, right? Like I don't do that. I don't subject myself to that on a week by week basis. And there's some, you know, football hipsters saying, "Nah, man, y'all gassing it. This guy, it's not like he found like a diamond in the rough. This guy was a solid player,
Mm.
overperforming in a relegation side. Like it's not the craziest thing in the world for Klopp to do this." Bro, then why doesn't every other club do this? Why doesn't there are
Yeah.
so many 7 out of 10 footballers on this planet that play for
Hmm.
sides that undervalue them that you could pick up for 15, 20 million? Why doesn't Pep grab one of them? Why doesn't Arteta grab one of them? Why doesn't Pochettino grab one of them? Why doesn't
Let's talk
any
about
other
Chelsea,
coach?
man.
So like let's
Caicedo, right?
Yeah, like
Caicedo, what's he doing right now?
Nah, man. Like I feel like
Lavia?
we had the Klopp Glaze session earlier this season when we one of our episodes,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
we've always praised Klopp about his ability to, make use of what he has, whatever limited capacity players that he has, he will bring
Dude, that 11,
200% out of it.
that 11 that they fielded, I
Yeah.
saw that lineup. First of all, chronological shirt number lineup pissed me off. Not gonna lie. The names pissed me off as well. Um, listen,
Wanza
I
ball.
had the craziest experience watching that game. I had a flight that took off that was supposed to take off 2 minutes before the game started. Thankfully, for the first time in my life, I was saying thank you that the flight got like 20 minutes delayed. So I caught 20 minutes, had to turn my phone off, woke up and turned my phone on to see the score. It was honestly like surreal. But I watched the match replay and I gotta say, dude, like I don't know like what to put that on. Like the fact that City weren't able to beat that 11, I don't know if that's
Hmm.
Klopp's brilliance or Pep folding, right? And I like that you said KDB. I like that you said Bernardo Silva. And one player we haven't mentioned yet, to my point, Phil Foden. When these games don't go City's way, Phil Foden is never ever in the line of fire because what? That's not his team. You know what I mean? But let's talk
Hmm.
about their bigger players. Holland, he had a couple half chances, right? Wasn't really able to get anything crazy off. I think that's credit to Van Dijk. I think a lot of times, even though Connor Bradley, played solid, Joe Gomez was solid, everyone was solid.
Hmm.
Van Dijk was the reason you were defensively solid that game, in addition to Endo. Um,
Hmm.
but
I mean,
City's
last
players,
time, yeah, go ahead.
I think City's players just weren't as effective as they could have been, right? Especially in those first like 20 minutes where I would say comfortably City dominated you. Um, I was expecting a goal, and what City is known for is executing that final action perfectly, and I just didn't see that. I don't know. What were you saying?
Yeah, Holland was quiet. I was going to talk at that point too, and that surprised me as well. Like even though second half I felt like was a largely a Liverpool dominant half, there was like no motion from. He's like supposed to be the guy who's like watching the line, cutting through. There's just it's almost like he was just standing there, like being. I don't know if it was like I don't know what it was in his head or whatever. But another point you mentioned, Virgil van Dijk. Huge credit to him. Last time I was on this podcast, we were slandering his name, saying that he's like a weak point that players are looking at now. But I mean, even at
Yeah.
this age, Kwanzaa in the back, Gomez in the back, he really fortified that defense, held it strong. Obviously, the one play where Holland was through on a break on his
Hmm.
back, held off that way. I remember someone on Twitter afterwards was saying, "Oh, but imagine this against Mbappe." And sure enough, in the World Cup, we'd seen Virgil van Dijk do the same thing against, a
Look,
young
1v1
Mbappe too.
defender, there's not that many better in the
Exactly,
world,
yeah. The
I
the
don't
no
think.
dribbles past that, still one of my
Yeah.
favorites of all
I,
time.
I I think the things we could still question that, I don't think City tested in that game. I think sometimes he just like plays it too cool, right? But
Hmm.
Hmm.
but I think Holland is not the type of player to challenge that, right? Holland has
Right.
plan A and plan A again, right? Like if plan A didn't work, try it again. Um, so like I'm not gonna say anything outrageous like, oh, Holland has been figured out because he's
Hmm.
still the leading scorer in this league by a big margin, right? But in these bigger games, he struggled. I think City struggled as a whole. The only Big Six team that City have been able to beat this season away from home is Manchester United.
Yeah.
Every other game has resulted in drop points. And it's like City are known for being the team every other fan base, looks at on the fixture schedule like, oh, that's a loss. That's
Hmm.
no points. This season, every team bar United has been having a decent amount of joy against them. And I don't know, it makes this title race very interesting. On the Connor Bradley thing, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think it presents a problem, not a problem. When Trent's healthy, what happens?
Well, I've seen like
I'm.
Trent thrive in like that midfield role too. I'm not worried about, them figuring out Klopp obviously being gone, whoever comes in next. I think
Mm,
we'll be able to manage that pretty fine. I've seen Trent play more versatile than just that right back role. But the way
Mhm.
Connor Bradley's moving, man, I feel like even he's got that same versatility. So I'm not worried. I don't think it's a clash so much as they kind of complement each other.
I
But
don't know.
we'll
It's
see.
gonna be interesting to see. I'm always
Definitely
curious
will be. Yeah.
how managers like handle being blessed with two great players in a
True.
position, especially one when one has one way less pedigree, right? Like that's
Right.
Trent's position in Trent's team, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to reward merit, and he's not done anything wrong to justify being benched. Um, but your players are getting healthy, things are looking up. Um, some moments in the game I think we should touch on.
Hmm.
Look, I think the standout player that gathered all the headlines in the second half was Luis Diaz. I've seen a lot about Luis Diaz. Oh, look, he beat Rodri and Walker together. Listen, call me boring, call me a defensive apologist. His cross did not get to the box. Kyle Walker blocked the cross. You could do all the fancy footwork in the world. You could go back, beat him again, do the Anthony, right? Like I beat you once, I'm gonna come back and try to beat you again. But if the cross doesn't get to the box, what was it all for? I don't know.
Dude, I'm not
That it
even
was.
pressed about that cross. I'm more pressed about the two consecutive chances he had to end that
Yeah.
game, and he just totally, woofed it.
Man, we're saying everyone saw shades of Lacazette in those finishes.
Nah, and the commentators also like praised him throughout the game. They were saying he's doing everything there needs to be done apart from the finishing. But
That's what matters.
that's what matters the most. And also, like, I feel like sometimes players will make those one or two like darting runs that, I guess it's above an average player's capabilities, and they'll just remember that those parts of the game, and grant him the, like, that's fine that he couldn't finish it. He played well. But if you look at the game as a overall, like, I really don't feel like he had that great of a game. He just made some couple runs that he's capable of. But in games like these, you gotta grab that chance. You have to make a statement. You have to punish City on these occasions, and he unfortunately couldn't do that.
Are you
I mean, because
frustrated?
of
Yeah, go ahead.
am I frustrated? Yeah. I mean, obviously the big thing with Luis Diaz was he's gonna catch the spotlight because of those two big misses, right? And then that run is more just like a highlight hype play,
Right.
almost like a
Right.
recovery, whatever. And I think that kind of shadows something that pissed me off more, and that was the Gakpo sub, which I felt was just
Mm.
like such a useless sub. He had so many chances where he could have done something.
Hmm.
Really like one-on-one situations with the keeper, couldn't control the ball, for really poor touches. And I really wanted to see Mr. Darwizi Nunez stay on as long as he
Yeah.
could. And just like a brief mention, I don't know if you guys have talked about it, but like his arrival, like it's flourishing now. Like I'm
Hmm.
really excited to see the player
Yeah.
he's become. The same way that, and this is how I compare it, Martinelli was kind of like he was always considered a great player, but there was a big meme with him
Hmm.
like, oh, getting past Conte falling down, right?
Yeah.
And he
Yeah,
scored
yeah.
that goal, and then it's like, oh, this guy, like, what's he going to become? And he obviously flourished into like whatever he did for Arsenal. It's fantastic. The Nunez memes, it's hilarious, but the goals he's scoring, man, and the chances he's getting now, and the way he's finishing, like, this is exactly what we've been waiting for. And I know he didn't get to show it off that well, like execute anything against City. But that's something that just I'm personally really excited for.
Yeah.
Last guy I wanted to shout was Mohamed Salah. I think he looked good coming back from injury. My favorite thing to see was that he's making those flops again. Like that prime 2020, 2022 Salah is back. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That complaining, getting in the box. There was this nonchalantness to him last year that I really hated when we were,
Hmm.
like at the eighth, sitting at the eighth seed, the 11th seed, like, oh, everything's gonna be fine. Like he is he is back to, doing whatever he can to try to win. I know it's like annoying a gimmick to others, but it just that gave me life going forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think too many players try to end up on like top 10 respect moments in football nowadays. Go do
Right.
whatever the hell you got to do to get a win, bro. You
Yeah.
should not be looking for fanfare from opposition fans. The biggest cucks in this game are the ones that be like, "Oh, let me pick you up after I tackle you. Oh, let me get the ball for you here." I love players that other fans absolutely hate. I think let's not talk about Arsenal yet. We'll talk about these players later. But I think every team has a couple of these, and they are your guys you look to in moments of need. The other huge incident in this game, listen, it
Hmm.
was tied 1-1.
Hmm.
Arsenal fans got the result they wanted. But in the 97th minute, a certain Doku, as the commentators say, decided to, Sparta kick McAllister in the chest. And It went to a VAR review, and Michael Oliver decided no, not a penalty.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm gonna take a quick guess and think, Ryan, you think it was a penalty? Yes?
I do, yeah, of course, I think it's a penalty, but I'll let you finish your thought there before I
And
kind of ramble again.
as a, I don't want to say objective. Obviously, I have skin in the game. I said before this game that I would want a City win, so in the end, I'm glad Liverpool probably didn't get the 3 points there, but
Mhm.
that's a penalty, bro. And I'll tell you why. I've seen the footage that shows like, hey, like Doku does get a touch on the ball. Like the ball kind of moves, right? And then he hits his chest. To Klopp's point, if that happens anywhere else on the pitch, it's a foul.
Yeah, that's a fact. But I really do think as far as soccer has been invented, there has been special considerations that put in fouls that happen inside the box. It is not a clear fact like, hey, the same foul that happens outside the box is gonna be given inside the
That's
box. That
true.
has
I
never
agree.
been a thing.
I agree, but I agree with that this double standard exists, that penalties need to be a bit
Hmm.
more egregious to be given fouls. But I've also, so the thing we've been saying since August about referees is consistency, right?
Hmm.
I'm not going to name drop teams, but there's certain teams in this league
Hmm.
where if any type of infringement happens
Yeah.
in the box, they're getting a penalty. And I don't even,
Yes.
like I said, like I've been saying, there's the referees here are not competent enough to carry out an agenda to support XYZ team. I think it's just across the board, some things just, don't click in their heads. The one example, this is from like 2 seasons ago. Do you remember, Nibs, when Arsenal was trying to get top four and we had to go
Hmm.
to White Hart Lane to go play Spurs? And
Hmm.
Cedric Suarez went for a
Oh
header
yeah.
against Son, and they gave it
Oh
as a penalty. It ran. I don't know if you're familiar with the clip, but I highly recommend you watch this clip later. That might not even be a foul at the halfway
outside
line,
the yeah.
but they gave it as a penalty in like the top four decider for that season. And it was like one of the craziest moments in my life. And I think moments like that are what cause fans to have agendas or
Hmm.
feel victimized or feel like there's a conspiracy. I don't think there's conspiracy. I just think these refs suck.
Hmm.
And even though in this case he might have done the right thing or wrong
Hmm.
thing, depending on how you look at it, it's just like we need to establish some sort of baseline.
I mean, the
Yeah.
thing that pissed me off mostly is like the VAR check when you look at it, right? Like, say whatever you want, ball comes off Mecca's chest and then boom, cleats to the chest. Like,
Hmm.
no the ball contact was later, right? If you have the ability to look at it on camera and take
Hmm.
your time, and there's a VAR check to come out wrong with that, like let's even scrap this game, right?
Hmm.
You said like the agendas and everything. There's three really prominent cases that Liverpool fans have to be really upset about. The Arsenal one doesn't even piss me off the most. Obviously, we were down that game before, Odegaard pulled out the tween double hezzy crossover between his legs, right? Like I've never seen a more egregious handball not given. Like honestly, in my life, that was
Yeah.
more obvious of a penalty
Yeah,
than
I
the
agree. I
version that
agree with
happened.
that 100%.
Whatever was missed, you don't know how the end of that game's gonna result. The Tottenham game, I just that makes me mad thinking about it. Like,
Does
how many points is that? Like, there's such a fine margin, and
But
I can't name
there's last
another
week
team.
when you got the ball, when you shouldn't have got the ball.
I
That's why I'm
understand, but
saying there's no agenda. It's just like these guys are bad at their job. You know what I
absolutely,
mean?
but three failed VAR checks. Like we can talk about like, okay, we shouldn't have got the ball. However, whatever the confusion was, we got the ball. Doesn't matter.
mm,
At the end of the day, we scored in stoppage time. They didn't clear the ball. You can't
mm,
blame the decision of those specific games, right? The Odegaard handball, this penalty not given, and Luis Diaz's goal taken away. You can't blame that on, like Liverpool themselves not being able to come out with something. That is, you have the VAR, you have the video review, and it's just another apology, like, oh yeah, I don't know why we missed in the game. We spent 10 minutes looking at it in slow-mo on camera. It doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. Now, I'm always been of the philosophy that like if you get screwed over, you just have to work twice as hard to overcome it. But when it happens three times in one season, like it's really hard to keep a positive outlook. Like I would, if we come out on top and we win this thing, like all the talk in the world, you know what I mean? Like singing it from the
mm,
rooftops, like us against the world, whatever. And I think it'd be
mm.
like deserved. But, if it doesn't come out on top, no one's gonna remember it. No one remembers second
Look,
place, right? No one's gonna remember these things.
but here's the thing. When you come out
Mhm.
on top and you say the us against the world thing, rival fans will have allegations against you, right?
That's fine.
You know what I mean? Same thing goes for us. Like Odegaard did handball versus Liverpool. We've had other things go our way this season. I
Mm-hmm.
think both our clubs still have had more things go against us, but
Mm-hmm.
that's just, where we sit in the ladder of privilege that exists in this
Yeah.
league. And I think it's, things are more fun when you overcome it. To this point,
No,
let's
exactly. And like there's two Diaz, composing himself twice in the box away from that not even being an issue. So that's what I mean by like, these excuses at the end of the day, you have to overcome whatever the
exactly.
obstacles might be. But again, it's just three like blatant VAR errors is really hard to come by. It's not, an error refereeing or,
Hmm.
giving an advantage or anything, something in the moment. Is you take the time aside for something that's like everybody in the world, you could show my grandma who doesn't watch football. She can see this and say, okay, yeah, there's a
Yeah,
problem here.
for
So
sure.
that's annoying.
Another
But
game with huge, refereeing issues that also has really big implications about the title race, which we'll talk about after, was Arsenal versus Brentford.
mhm.
Arsenal got the lead decently early with a
Mm.
spectacular Ben White cross, Declan Rice header. It was all looking fantastic. And then in the 48th minute of the first half, I don't even want to say his name, dog, but
Aaron Ramsdale.
Aaron Ramsdale decided, you know what, let's get it interesting here tonight. Let's raise some blood
Let's
pressure. Let's just make it happen. Gifted Wisa Brentford a goal. We went into the half 1-1, and then there were, in my opinion, two very clear penalties that Arsenal were denied in the second half, but that
Mhm.
didn't matter because the Kaiser, King Kai, Havertz came up big in the 86th minute to secure the 3 points for Arsenal, not for the first time this season. Did it again against Brentford earlier this season in the home leg. Funny enough, that same weekend, Liverpool and City tied 1-1 as well. So funny little coincidence. Um,
Crazy how fast your opinion of a player can swing. That guy was just like weirdo number one to me, and he's cold. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like
him,
I
dude.
have a lot of respect for Kai Havertz, especially what he's done at Arsenal.
Dude, I
Um,
think like we talk about the mental side of things, bro. Even if he was bad, you could take a good player, and if you subject him to the amount of abuse this guy was
Mhm.
getting, he would probably turn bad. The fact that he's
Mhm.
overcome that speaks a lot to his character. I'm not saying he's the greatest striker in the league. He's clearly not, but he's making things work and he's doing everything he can to be as effective as possible for us, and I can definitely appreciate that. He's already matched his best goal tally ever in the Premier League, and we still have 10 games to go. So very, very hopeful for Kai. Um,
I think you can speak about his character, but it also has a lot to do with the environment he's in. He's had this character in Chelsea. Didn't work out for him. I think it has a large part to do with what Arsenal is capable of providing him in this club. Like the love and support he gets here, even from the fans. It's showing that like he needed that. He needed that little support to get him there. And
yeah,
we've always talked about it. Like in the beginning of the season, I've always said like um he looked like a shit player. There's no doubt about that. Like he was putting out bad performances, but you can see that he had like the the
hustle,
minerals you can
the
say. Like
physical profile,
exactly the
everything.
physical profile. He had those things for which Arteta identified him and bought him for such a high price. Now, well, no, I've said this before, like how Arteta always says in press conferences, we have to be the best at everything, whether it be like cutting through lines, or whether it be like taking on people, whether it be like heading, or being a
Crossing.
physical threat in the set pieces. And buying that player, I feel like Arteta had a vision, and I feel like he's capable of like this Brentford team. I feel like if we didn't have Havertz, Rice, these two players, obviously they're the goal scorers, but those profiles, if we didn't have them,
Mhm.
this game, we would not win this game
Yeah.
because it took a different profile of players, I feel like, to get us this result. And thankfully, Arteta has noticed that we were lacking this in the previous seasons. He's addressed it, and I feel like we're seeing the fruits of that.
I
this
think
year.
it comes down to one thing he's put very succinctly in the past in interviews. So if you're like listening and really listening, it should all make sense. You know, Arteta is always associated with Pep Guardiola, right?
Yeah.
This possession uh, style of football that that emphasizes control. Whenever
Hmm.
reporters come up to him and ask him, "Hey, like, is this what you're trying to achieve? Control. Is that what you are seeking to obtain with this team and this style of play?" He would absolutely deny and be like, "No, I don't want control. I want dominance." And to the average person, that sounds like the same thing, right? But I
Hmm.
think dominance is what happened to Brentford at the end of that game. Sure, we had the ball, but
Hmm.
we've had the ball in games like this before. And when the little flicks and tricks and the intricate passing isn't working, you need to just be able to spam 10 crosses because chances are, if you have profiles, physical profiles,
Hmm.
6'2, 6'3 people in the box, in and around like Gabriel, Saliba, Havertz, it's a numbers game. It's going to work. And after these hard fought wins, you always see Arteta and the players say, and they keep saying this like it's being ingrained in their minds. We just kept at it. We didn't let our
Hmm.
heads drop. That was a thing last season where like if a team set up a good enough low block,
It's
we
rest.
try, and then at a certain point it just looked like it's not going to happen today. These guys, I could see it still linger in their mind sometimes, but they just force themselves to do these actions. Ben White forces himself to do that overlap and get that cross in. And it really does feel inevitable at times. And I love that about us right now. Um,
Hmm.
and you talked about the team culture and like the environment, right? You can see that case in point when all the interviews, when the players were asked about Ramsdale's mistake.
Hmm.
Look, these kids are PR trained. They're not gonna, shit on their teammate. But they the level of awareness in their answers, Saliba was like, I made two mistakes this month. My team
Hmm.
saved me. Havertz was like, "Oh, I've done plenty of wrong in the past." The team's job is to look out for each other, right?
Hmm.
And it's like it's easier said than done because as a fan, I'm frustrated. I haven't done anything for the team. As a fan,
Hmm.
I couldn't look at Aaron Ramsdale, but the fact that these guys work hard for 45 minutes, have that done to them, and then don't become toxic, keep pushing, and want to fight for him even more.
Hmm.
That's the stuff that keeps teams successful. I don't know.
I
I'd
mean,
love.
you've seen that. That's the same reason that we've seen like Man United and Chelsea kind of wither away in the last, I feel like, couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Is like that lack, right? But on the same thread of that dominance that you were talking about with Arsenal, you've seen, I know we talked about this last time too, against games where they're already up, like crazy, and Ben White's going in for that cross, right?
Yeah.
And all the Liverpool fans, including myself, we're having a great time with 5-0 to go from third to third week after week, and now it's like, damn,
It
right?
added
It
up.
finally it adds up, right? So we're talking about this streak, this dominance, this inevitability. I don't know if we're prematurely talking about if we can swing to the title race and the odds in itself.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
where do you see where's that fear for you that like, oh, okay, this is where Arsenal, this is where
Hmm.
we can drop points, this is where we can snap, this is where because right now that inevitability, that congruence, that everything that with the way you guys are meshing and Liverpool's injury history, City's, I don't know what they're doing. They're just not showing up for certain games.
Yeah.
What is
Hmm.
the Arsenal? What's the term I'm looking for here? The Achilles
The
heel
Achilles
here
heel.
for Arsenal.
I'll take my stab at it. So let's get the facts, right? Well, we're all numbers people. As things stand, Opta and their title predictor have given Manchester City the favorite chance of
Hmm.
winning the league, even after the draw at Anfield. They have a 45.9% chance of winning the league. Liverpool are second with a 35.3% chance of winning the league. And Arsenal are last, well, third out of the bunch with an 18.8% chance of winning the league. So we have significantly less probability according to the numbers.
Hmm.
And that suggests the underlying statistics don't believe in our dominance like we do, right? And even after those things going for us with the draw at Anfield and us winning against Brentford, I still think I don't even think City's in the lead for this race. I still think Liverpool have it to win.
I,
Just because I believe in this fixture list. I don't know. Is what you were
I,
saying?
th- I mean, I'm sure the statistics, take in favor of City just because they're previous 5 seasons. They kind of, I'm sure, took an average of what their fixtures resulted in,
Mhm.
and this is why they have such a high percentage. I agree, fully agree. Like, especially this Liverpool game, considering the lineup Liverpool put up and the difficulties City had to kind of get a result out of it, you can see like there are cracks in that City team.
I believe
Um,
less in City now than I did 3 days ago. A lot less.
exactly, for sure. Like, I even before the City game, I was thinking like, I wish we could instead of having to play City, I wish we could play Liverpool again. That's what I was literally thinking. But that game, bro, my mind fully switched. Like, I want to play City. I would stay
Yeah,
away
that's
from
right.
Anfield and the Liverpool team because what Klopp, did, we already talked about it. But I feel like Pep is I don't know what it is. But it could be anything. I have no idea what it is. But City does not look like its previous team. Like
That's
the
why we're
previous
not
team.
paid millions. 'Cause I have no idea what
And
changed. Like,
fully
but
healthy and everything now
yeah,
too.
but let
Yeah.
me answer your question. What the Achilles heel is. Right now, Arsenal have gone 8 games winning streak in the league.
Mm,
That's the longest we've ever gone under Arteta, and it's the longest streak we've had since 2000, I think 14,
mm,
or 2011. I don't know which of those, but it's been at least 10 years since we've gone eight
mm,
in a row. We are not known to win like 14 games in a row, 16 games in a row, right? For me to comfortably say that, hey, Arsenal can do
mm,
this, I need us to win at least 8 of the remaining 10 games. And this team just doesn't have an experience doing that. And you
mm,
can make the argument no one has the experience of doing something like that till they do it. And I'm with you there. The fan in me, my heart tells me we won't have the experience till we do it this season, right? But I look at these fixtures. We have left Chelsea, City, Villa,
yeah.
Spurs away, United away. Like these are really
Difficult
difficult
fixtures.
games, regardless of the pressure. Add that on the fact that we're chasing a title. And meanwhile, bro, like I'm gonna just read the hardest fixtures Liverpool have left. You played United away, just like us. You play Spurs at home, and you play Villa away. Other than that, it's Everton, it's Sheffield, bro. It's
But I mean,
Crystal Palace.
what you have adding to that is like Chelsea, right? And are we like, I want to
But
make the
look,
argument.
Chelsea beat Newcastle
Of
today.
course, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're competent, and they took a point. They took a point from us earlier this season. So like,
The thing that I think we're at now with the
Mm,
dominance that you were talking about, that inevitability, this streak that only Arsenal has, that City doesn't have it right now. Liverpool's a little shaky. That Forest game, like, that was a very real game. It's not like we had
you're right.
excuses for that game, right? So I think with the goal difference that you've piled up, everything's sitting on top. It's not crazy to say that at this point it is Arsenal's to lose, and that it's not like they're on this like fragile, like they have everything going for them. It's on
Mm,
them if they're like, you can't say that, oh, we don't have the history of doing it. Right now in this moment, three teams compared, Arsenal is performing the hottest, and there's only 10 games left. The fixtures, we can argue, right? They're more or less the same. I get it that they're difficult on all sides. We have the easier fixtures. Liverpool, who knows what's going to happen, right? We're going to start Kwanzaa against who knows who, and then I could easily see us losing to Sheffield. Like anything can happen on that side. We don't know what's going on with City. And wild card, we're talking about stats. Like the XG guy who determined these odds or whatever is the same guy who said Tottenham had like an XG of like 1 goal and they just beat Villa 4-0. This
yeah.
Villa team that we're scared of, right? So
Mm,
we can talk about Tottenham later, but right now I really think the swing after this Liverpool City game and just the form that all three teams are on with the amount of time left, fixtures, it doesn't matter. When you're on the top of the league, you can't be worried about,
nah, but you
what your
can,
fixtures
because
are.
let's put it into context. Let me show you. So we're on a hot streak, right? Our last 6 games, I think we played 4 of the bottom 6. Like we're beating teams comfortably, but they're not great teams, right? And we come up against Brentford, who are slightly higher in the table. We
mm,
struggled, right? The teams we're putting aside are Sheffield, who are literally last, Burnley, who are second to last, West Ham. Okay, you could make a case that they're decent. Palace, who are horrible, and these are all teams that are
Yeah.
coming up for you, whereas they're behind us. You know what I mean? I'm glad we took advantage and stat padded our goal difference. And I'm not telling you that like, hey, I don't believe in us at all. but I don't think we're in the driver's seat still. Like just because the reason I think Liverpool is in the driver's seat and not City is because you have the privileged position of having your two competitors face each other now, right? Like we had
Right.
that privilege this past weekend, but you will have it, and that's the last say we have between each other until this thing ends, right? So like if City and us draw, then it's like what happens if we go and lose at the Etihad, which is very much likely. It's really out of our hands. If you know what I'll tell you, if we go to Man City and we get a win, then I will, regardless of the fixtures, regardless of us playing at Old Trafford, at White Hart Lane, going to Chelsea, right? Then it's ours to lose, 100%.
Yeah.
If we beat
But I
City and
don't
lose
think
this,
it's crazy to say that you'd beat City. Like I'm almost confident like that you guys are the way City's been playing. And look, the City never we can see Pep turn it around. Like he's had his
Hmm.
fun or whatever. And like you said, those last six are guaranteed City wins. And I feel confident in that too, right? This is
Hmm.
like the kill switch, right? We've seen against all the big six teams, and we're counting Man United as like the one, like, come on, Man United, like City are vulnerable. Like, and
I agree.
Arsenal have their like foot on everybody's throats. I don't see this next game being the one where Pep is like, all right, I'm sick of it. Because he could have said that the last five games that they like
Yeah,
drop points. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
No,
that's true.
like I feel like, all three of these teams are champions quality, Like
Mhm.
they got all three of them can win, and you can look behind in the season, like they were amazing.
Here's the problem. Here's
It,
the problem that I'll add before you continue.
yeah.
You're right. All three of these teams are champions quality. I would say Arsenal is performing the absolute best they can currently. I would say similarly for Liverpool. That City's team is probably playing the worst they could right now, probably, and they're still right there
That's a
with
good
us.
point.
That's the difference for me. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I feel like City has it, and they've been performing with whatever they have. Like their results, they get them because they have that quality. It's not like they just pull it out of their ass or anything like that.
Mm.
They're it's because they have the players, and I feel like we also have the players. To a lesser degree, maybe Liverpool has the aura of the fucking Anfield. Everything just starts shaking, and whenever anybody goes to Anfield, it's like I feel like they have three different components going, but all three teams are capable of winning. And even if the other two misses out this season, I feel like this was a great season. I wish, I don't know, like second or third were rewarded as well. I feel like at this moment, like 'cause this like I feel like this season was just I, f- I
yeah, he
don't know.
wants
I feel
participation trophies.
I
The
really
fans are
want
gonna have their asterisks, right? Like Liverpool's gonna have their whole like we already had like the season 2 seasons ago when we were winning the league for like 30 minutes before Gundogan scored like two
Yeah.
against Aston
yeah.
Villa. Like everyone's gonna have the miss the I'm forgetting how many years ago it was where the goal was just
Mhm.
like just cleared last
Yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Kane.
everyone's gonna have those asterisk seasons, but I'm telling you, like other than your fan base, and I've seen this
Nobody.
just like from everything I've seen so
They're,
far, nobody else is gonna remember. Nobody else is gonna care. Like they're just not. Like
Mhm.
we're gonna
I
say, oh,
know.
we were injured, we had the three VAR mistakes and
Yeah.
everything. If we don't win, nobody's gonna remember second. I promise you. History, like you will remember, but that's why it's so important that if your foot's on the throat, you keep it on their throat and you finish strong, right? Because it's really win or lose. There is no. I know what you're saying that it's like everybody has championship quality and everything. In the
Yeah.
grand scheme of history, in 1 year, less than a year, no one's even gonna like give it a second thought that
Yeah.
this was such a great. What was the last great? Do
Mhm.
people mention like the whoever the last great race was like second place was amazing? Nobody talks like that. Nobody remembers that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Nah, yeah,
So I
Yeah.
don't know.
Liverpool is a good example. Like their last, four seasons were
They
great.
they clown the
Then,
Klopp Pep rivalry so much. Oh, it's not a rivalry. Klopp hasn't done anything. Because in our hearts,
yeah,
like yes, right? Klopp has done so much against an inevitable team that you can't beat, and what he's done to manage to get one and to be that close two more times,
yeah.
like it's insane. But nobody cares, right? It's like it's empty
No,
stats or whatever to everyone else.
I'm just
So
saying, like, if we miss out, man, that shit's gonna be a dagger, bro. Dagger to
I
the
know.
heart. Like,
I think the two teams that'll decide this is like obviously when we play City, and then all three teams are yet to play Villa. All three teams are yet to play Spurs.
yeah.
Bleacher Report made this hilarious
Graphic.
graphic of Son crowning
Son
one
holding
of
the crown,
KDB's Saka or Salah. I
and they're
just
all
think
on their knees too. I don't know what.
somebody said this is the first graphic I've ever seen the Spurs and a Premier League trophy, and it's us giving it to someone else.
That shit was
I just
hilarious.
think it's hilarious. But again, it's just it's so good. Like I'm stressed out about it, but the fact that there's 10 games left and there's 1 point separating three teams,
Yeah.
it gives me goosebumps. I think other factors will have huge implications that people aren't talking about. Champions League, Europa League, and crucially, this is the one I haven't heard anyone speak about. The FA Cup
FA
could
Cup.
very well decide who wins this Premier League. If both uh, City and Liverpool go through, then
Mm-hmm.
Liverpool will have their Everton away game
Mm-hmm.
put between their last two games, which is Villa away and then Wolves at home. They play Villa away on May 11th and they play Wolves at
Mm-hmm.
home, final game of the season on May 19th. If they proceed to the next round, Everton will be situated between the two, meaning 3 games in 1 week in the last week, one against bitter rivals away from home. Same thing
Hmm.
happens with that Brighton fixture for Man
With Man
City
City?
that will
Wow.
get sandwiched between Fulham and West Ham. Fulham and West Ham, look, we predicted City are going to win, but you put Fulham, Brighton, and West Ham in 1 week, those aren't
Yeah.
as easy as they used to be. I think little things like that are going to come in huge. And then you think about, hey, look, Arsenal have a huge game tomorrow in the Champions League. If we progress and we continue to have to play these midweek games against high tier opponents, we look at the way the Champions League's shaping up now. City and Arsenal, if they make it, oh, City have already made it through. If Arsenal make it through, we're gonna have to play one
Mm.
European giant after another if we continue to progress. And I don't know if that builds momentum. I don't know if that makes us more tired. Like there's so many factors. There's the factor of, hey, we play Porto tomorrow and don't play another game until we play City on the 31st. Does that help us? Does that get us more tired and not game fit? It's like every little thing is going to have so much go into it. And I'm so glad we started this podcast this season because what a
Yeah.
way to remember it if something happens for any of our teams. I think we spent a lot of time on the title race. There's another race going on that I want to speak
Oh
about.
yeah.
Um, One that used to be relevant to our teams. We're kind of beyond this now. But supposedly there's dudes like that, spend their entire season trying to fight to play in the Champions League. The two teams currently in the bitter depths of that fight are Tottenham Hotspur and Aston Villa, and they played each other this past weekend. The game was built up to no end, and in the end,
Mm.
very disappointing. Spurs, I believe, if I'm correct, won 4-0 against
Hmm.
Aston Villa. I watched the game. I turned it off after 3-0. It just it was such a Unai Emery game, brother. Like people tried to mock Arsenal fans about what he was doing at this Villa project. Let's set this record straight. Aston Villa have spent upwards of 500 million in the last 6 seasons. They're spending like a big six team.
Mm.
Them being near the big six is not a fairy tale. You know what I mean? Like they're spending at that level. They have two right wingers who could probably start for every team in the Bundesliga and most of the teams in La Liga. Like they have a striker who's amazing, second in the Golden Boot race in the Prem. Like their squad is really stacked. And
Mm-hmm.
for them to have had this healthy lead and it's looking like they're slowly losing it. I think we've given Unai Emery his credit. It's time for some accountability.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. Like that game, like okay, first half they were putting up good numbers in their boxes. I feel like they had good possession of the ball. Like Spurs, they're holding their own, but they didn't look like they were gonna win the game.
Yeah.
But like great runs, good finishing in the boxes by Spurs, like took the game
Great
away from them.
finishing. Great
And
finishing.
they took their chances, and obviously they took advantage of the mistakes the Villa had in the back, and they punished them, bro. Like they didn't give up their opportunities, and that's what you have to do, like in these big games.
Mhm.
And they really suffered this game, and I feel like um, once those two goals went in, they just didn't look like they're gonna bring it
Look at
back. And
McGinn's red card. That's a player who's fully given up and said, hey, screw this. I don't
exact.
want to do this anymore. I think 4-0 was very harsh. Obviously, two of the goals came after the 90th minute. Game was pretty
Hmm.
much over at that point. Um, but still, like it's not a classic way to lose a game by Emery because usually that involves like having a lead, getting comfortable, giving it up. And usually his teams play better in the second half. But this was like this game is their final for the season,
Yeah,
and they didn't even look like they cared. It,
yeah.
it was wild.
Yeah, I feel like I really just feel like this was like maybe a one-off game for them, like because the first goal that they conceded, it was just like everything just hit off perfect. That run, that cross, that finish, and
Yeah.
then the mistake on top of that, they just didn't look like they had any fighting spirit. Like that's what you kind of expect, like when I am here to gather your players to kind of give us some sort of fight back, but everything was just not going right for them, and I feel like they just crumbled, like crumbled big. Like this is one of those games that you take full control of, try to gain possession, and make your striker work the box and kind of take that chance and score those goals. But I feel like they just didn't make the most of it, and they're gonna suffer because they already are one game ahead, I think, and
Yeah.
Spurs have a game to play, and they're only 2 points ahead. So technically, if points are given, they're fifth right now. Um,
And crucially, both teams still have to play the top three, which is why
wow.
that race is just as exciting as the one for the title.
Do you
Um,
see
I,
Man United creeping in? Because how far are they?
No,
they're pretty far. They're 6 points behind Spurs, who are a
Hmm.
game behind. So like, and the way they play, it's not very inspiring. I know they won against Everton, but even that looked
Everton.
Yeah.
labored.
Yeah.
Um, I still want to back Villa to do it just because I think they have the better players. I think they have the
Hmm.
better squad overall. I don't think they have the better coach. But the coach has been there longer. And they're not in the driver's seat anymore, but points on the table are better than points games in hand, right? Um,
Hmm.
hopefully they do it just because I don't want Spurs to do it, but we shall see. Um, that's pretty much it for this
Yeah,
week's.
I'll say however it turns out, right? We all have
Hmm.
Liverpool fans,
Hmm.
whatever they see coming, Arsenal fans, whatever they see coming, whatever the three city fans see coming. It was
Hmm.
fun. Like I can say, no matter
Yeah,
the outcome, right, you're gonna have your own. It was a fun season.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm excited, and I hope it goes down to the very last game,
Last game.
man.
We will be
I
That'll
hope
there.
it
be.
doesn't, but
If it goes
I'm
out of the
sick of
last
it going
game,
down to the last game, but it'll be exciting nonetheless.
oh man, I don't know if my heart can handle it. Ah, man, if it goes out of the last game, I think we take it just because we play Everton, who are not gonna lose that game. I mean, who are not gonna win that game, even if they wanted to.
It's so funny, man. You seen like this last comment when it was 2 years ago, uh City was playing Villa and everyone's like, oh, Coutinho's gonna just he's gonna go crazy against City, do one for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Stevie G coaching them like nobody gives a shit, man. They're
Yeah,
not doing crap for you. Like
but
that's true.
this one might something might actually happen. These
Villa,
guys,
Everton,
these guys hate you. I'm not gonna hold you.
they're
I
just gonna
also
sit down and take it.
and they're not I mean I think by the time that game comes around they'll be comfortably out of that relegation
No, dude,
zone.
Luton Town is playing crazy. They are like one or
I
two more good games, and Everton's got those point deductions. I'm ready to get them out of here.
I don't know, bro. I don't
Give me
know.
give me another season of Luton.
no, I really hope that for Luton. Like they're
I
playing
hope
good, but
Forest
they're
go
just
down.
not getting results.
I hope
Yeah,
Forest go down and Luton stay up.
yeah.
Because the other clubs are all heritage. Like I don't want Everton slipping. I don't want Palace slipping.
Bro,
Bournemouth.
get Everton the hell out of here. Forest is a heritage club, bro. Two Champions Leagues, respect
I
it.
know, but the fun fact about Forest is always like, oh, did you know there's a club with two Champions Leagues in the championship? They're not supposed to be here. Like then it becomes
Yeah.
too serious. Get it? Well, that was everything this week. Um, content's been kind of slow lately. That's on me. Just been busy a little bit. But I'm gonna try to get back on track this week, just because how can you not want to post about everything that's going on right now? Keep liking the videos. It's not anymore that I'm begging you to. You guys are actually doing it. So, gang, gang, gang. We love y'all. Everything's good. Keep doing your thing. We'll keep doing our thing. We will see you, God willing, next week. Take care. Bye bye.